Everyone talks about the beauty of Africa, the food, the culture, but let's be real. There are different things that are really tough, whether you've lived all your life in Africa or moved back to Africa like I did in 2023. There are challenges and different experiences that no one's talking about. So let's talk about it. Number one thing I want to talk about is infrastructure. That be roads, electricity, buildings. And if you see me looking down, I have my laptop so I don't miss out on things I want to say. Because once I start talking, I'm going to get into it and I might miss some points. Anyways, roads, infrastructure, internet, those are things that people hardly mention. But if you used to live in the United States like I did, or another country, and moved back to West Africa where things are different. I'm not going to be comparing in this video because I've compared in another video, my previous videos, so make sure you go watch those after this one. But the internet connection here is not cheap. It's not cheap because it's not readily accessible like in other countries where internet is everywhere and everyone's using the internet. Of course, here a lot of people are using the internet, but it's just not as accessible because, first off, it's expensive, and second off, it's like you get connection intermittently. So, you know, those bad days when you have bad internet connection? Well, consider it as you would have bad internet connection every day almost. You would have more bad internet connection than you would have of good internet connection, which I think, you know, is something to mention, especially since a lot of people now really depend on internet, whether that be connecting with family and friends or just doing their job or school. That's something very important in our daily lives now. Infrastructure, roads. Roads are something that, you know, people don't think about, but roads are not that great. They're good, but they're not the same. They're not that great. They could be better, especially in rural areas. Now, buildings, infrastructure, I think buildings is one thing that African people, especially West African people, got right. They know how to build the nicest homes with cement and not just like, you know, how houses are built in other Western countries. If you know, you know, with like, what is it? Like wood and other stuff? No, cement. Almost all buildings here also are made with cement. Buildings here look really nice and very well done. So that's something I gotta give it to them. But electricity, man, electricity. If you're in West Africa, tell me why you would not spend a month without an electrical outage. Why? No, there's some political things up. There's some political reasons as to why. There are other reasons as to why. I'm just not willing to get into it because it's not my domain. But as a consumer of the electricity, I just don't appreciate it because you would be planning to have an event or planning to do something and there's an electrical outage. Of course, you learn to live with it though. I mean, because you know that they're going to take the power. Sometimes, you know, sometimes you do things ahead. You make sure you charge your phone. Like for instance, I know that in our neighborhood we tend to have electricity outages, especially like towards like 5 p.m., 6 p.m. to up to like 8 p.m. or so. So I make sure to charge my phone during the day and make sure it's fully charged. Make sure to like know where my stuff are and kind of have my laptop charged if I have something to do with school and other things. So of course you could prepare for it, but it's just not convenient, especially when you have kids and you want to put them to bed and stuff like that. So we have solar panels installed. Now with solar panels, the upfront cost could be really expensive, but afterwards, like you could really reap the benefits. But even with that, you know, having like perfect installation is just not the case. So there are some tweaks that you have to make here and there, but overall, those are my thoughts on infrastructure. Those are my thoughts on infrastructure. Let's move on to work and career challenges. Work and career challenges. For me, I haven't given you my backstory, but if you want to know about me and why I feel that I'm the expert on this subject, watch my previous videos, but I've moved from the US to one of the West African countries, which is Niger. And when I say work and career opportunities are different here, I mean it. I started my career back in the West, and when I came here, career opportunities are almost like they're good, but they're not the same. They're not the same. Luckily, I'm in the humanitarian sector, so work and career opportunities are different. But people here locally who live here have a hard time getting career opportunities, getting work opportunities. So keep that in mind if you're trying to move to a Western African country, or even if you live here, know that you're not alone in having challenges with getting work, just because there aren't a lot of jobs out there available for everyone to grab. And then sometimes when you're applying, the application process is not as open as other countries where, you know, you could just go apply online, um, and someone would call you. Like you have to what do you call it? You have to kind of network to hear about jobs. Like job postings could be online for months, weeks, and really people are not looking at that. You have to network to kind of, get in, basically. Not all cases, not for all jobs, but for the most part, yeah, you have to network to get into some of the jobs. And compensation for what you would be doing is not as nearly close to the job that you would be doing. Compensation is lower than what you would be doing on your normal function once you take function at that job. So keep that in mind and don't feel like, oh, my job is taking advantage of me. I think this goes both ways, even if you're in a um, Western country, or like one of the diaspora countries you're coming back. Just keep in mind that, you know, you're used to sometimes doing other duties that are not part of your job description. But when we live in a society or we live in a community, sometimes you can't really avoid those, especially when like you gain more experience before they like upgrade you or promote you per se. You have to kind of dabble a little bit to try other things. And I think it also benefits you because you gain more experience, you become more needed at that job, but not to say to do it in an unhealthy way. Anyway, let's close this chapter of work and job opportunities here, because there's limited job market and the work culture. Oh, let's not close it yet. Let's not close it yet. The work culture here is different. People expect you to like, people really respect work here because, first off, the job market is limited. People barely get jobs. So when you get a job, you really respect it, you take it seriously. It almost is put before everything. Why? Because people hardly can get a job. And when you get a job, you want to keep that job. And so people will be working at the same job for years. No one's quitting easily. No, no one's quitting easily because they know that once they quit, they're not getting another job offer easily. And one thing that I thought was really interesting here is that when you're applying for jobs, people would ask you a testimony from your previous job. So, a letter from your previous job testifying how long you've been working there and that you actually have worked there at a specific function, like a specific role, which I thought was really different. In the US, I've never heard of such thing. Maybe I wasn't included in those circles, but I've never heard of such thing. And now, here in Africa, in West Africa, you need those. So, if you're working abroad or somewhere else, make sure your manager or someone could, write you up a letter or something and put like the logo so you keep it. You keep it just in case someone asks you for it, you keep it. Yeah, that's something different that I previously never heard, like your previous job having to testify that you've worked there. But apparently it's something that's really common here and you need that. So just like for future jobs, make sure you keep it. Work culture here, people like, okay, it's not just about work. Regardless of, like, people here generally have a work culture that's different, I would say. because they expect you, like, even if you hold a higher position, if you're younger, people would try to like step over you because they feel like, oh, you're younger. So like you would have people who are older than you expecting you to call them uncle or auntie at your job. Like I feel like, okay, out of respect I can call you uncle or auntie because it's like the culture and it's respectful. No problem with that, no shade with that. But I feel like when you're at work and everybody's there to work, you know, there are limits to how much you could bring that to work. Like there are just limits to how much that goes into effect. I don't know. It's just me, but I think it's too much. Like sometimes you're just trying to just go to work and get your job done. You're not there to like, sorry, I have a cold that I'm getting over of, so yeah, my voice and my nose not very nice today. But anyways, I'm determined to make these videos because last year I wanted to make these videos and I stopped halfway. This year I'm really trying to push it through and not fall off the New Year's resolution bandwagon. But anyways, like you're there to work. You're not there to kind of go there to, I don't know. For me, sometimes you get in the groove of working and I don't want to come off harsh. So I'm trying to choose my words carefully. Like you're there to work and sometimes you just have too much going on. Sometimes you're stressed. Sometimes you got deadlines. You just don't have time for that auntie uncle stuff. You just want to get your job done and move to the next task. So that's just me, but it's part of what it is. Now, the everyday life struggles most people don't talk about. Let's talk about the weather. The weather here in West Africa could be really harsh, it could be really hot. And that's something that, okay, if you love the heat, great. But I'm not a fan of the constant heat. I love it when I could have some heat when I want and be cool when I want. And I know we're human. We are never satisfied. We always want to strive for perfection. But the heat, it could be too much sometimes. Like, you have to time when you're going out. You have to time going out in the mornings, like early, early mornings, so it's not too hot. And then afternoons when the sun sets, so it's not too hot as well. So, what do you do during the day? Like, what do you do during the day? Of course, I try to have activities at home or activities that are indoors so I don't have to be out in the sun. But that West African sun is so, so harsh. So make sure you have like sunscreen and other things if you already live in Africa, you know. You already know. But if you're not using sunscreen, I think you should. Um, and limited access to certain goods. This is something that people like, especially after the state of Niger, where they had a military coup. Like, some goods are not coming into the country anymore, so if you're used to those goods, you have to find alternatives. I would say find an alternative for any goods that you're using anyways. That way you really are not stuck when that those goods are not available anymore. But for me, having limited access to certain goods sometimes does affect you because sometimes you really want to feel like, oh, I need this thing. And so you have to order it from like a neighboring country or from abroad. And those DHL fees, man, find an alternative to DHL fees. Like, if you have family friends traveling, have them bring you stuff. If you have friends from other countries, order and have them ship it for you. DHL is not nobody's friend. Mm-mm. Not when you like order large packages. By the way, if you guys hear that tit sound in the back, those are my like camera systems. And when someone's like walking past the home, it senses and it like signals. Like, and we have like about 10 cameras. One day I'll give you a tour. 10 cameras around the house and like in different spots. And so when it senses movements, motions like that, it signals, and I have it off, but that's the monitor for it right there in the back. um Sometimes it could be annoying, but sometimes I just get, like, right now I'm just used to it. In the beginning it was kind of annoying to like be able to sleep and have that on, but now I'm just used to it. And if you want to know why I have those installed, watch my previous videos. I talked about security, which is very important here. Now, the cultural differences, if you're coming from the US or another country to live in Niger, is something to consider. This is a culture where everyone's kind of chill in West Africa. And not only that, everyone feels like they're entitled to knowing about your life, and everyone feels like they're entitled to being part of your life. It's kind of weird. It's a weird concept in the beginning to grasp, but people here feel like, oh, I'm your auntie. Just because they're a woman, they're of that same nationality, or like even if they're not, and they're older than you, that's it. It just gives them the right to be your auntie and gives you unsolicited advice. So, like, make sure you know how to incorporate that in your life or take that in. But that's something that I'm learning that, oh, okay, these cameras can be annoying sometimes, and I'm really sorry. I don't know how to switch off those motion sensors, and quite frankly, I don't want to switch them off because now I'm like attached to like knowing that, oh, I know what's going on around the house. Anyways, if you are coming from a different country where everyone's kind of independent, everyone's living their life, no one really cares about your life, when you come to West Africa, people feel entitled to knowing what's going on in your life. They feel entitled to give you unsolicited advice, and they definitely feel entitled to you calling them your auntie and their your uncles and your papa, whatever. People expect that. They do. Let's talk about the reality versus what people expect living in West Africa would be. I think that for the most part, people who come from the diaspora or other countries who lived in other countries for so long, like the United States, Canada, and I was talking about the weather earlier in the video, and guys, my phone temperature just heated up because it was hot and it just stopped working. I mean, you get used to the weather, but it's not to scare you off. I'm just saying, like, the weather here is real, especially in Niger, but in West Africa in general, I think the weather is kind of like hot. Imagine hot summer days every single day, almost every single day, except a couple months off. Anyways, let's talk about what people think living in Niger is like and the actuality of it, the actual experience of living in Niger. Now, everything that I described above is, I think, what people think living in West Africa would be like hard, or having like things like internet connection issues or infrastructure issues or stuff like that. The little things that I explained in the beginning, but the real experience is you learn to kind of live with that as part of your experience. So basically you learn to live that, oh, we're gonna have outage at this around this time, so I'm just gonna prepare for it and it's gonna go smoothly. And the times that you would need connection or stuff like that, you would rearrange your life to be able to incorporate those moments. So it's just to say that not to be scared, because what people expect is, it's going to be harsh weathers. It's going to be really difficult having access to internet or having access to what they're used to, or even jobs and stuff like that. I'm just giving you those experiences because those things are real, they're true, and I'm not sure if you're getting those gists in the other videos that you're watching on YouTube. But, come prepared or live prepared, and once you live here, you get really accustomed to it. Like, you get so used to it that it's just part of it. It's just part of your life, and you take different precautions or like different actions to remedy that. Now, let's talk about the biggest surprises when you first move back to West Africa. I have a whole video, a whole detailed video that's about 40 minutes on the biggest things that no one prepares you for when you move back to Africa. In that video, you really get like a lot of different experiences that I've lived through, and real stuff, real world stuff that matters, not just copy and paste stuff. So make sure you go and watch that video. But I think one of the biggest surprises when you move back here at first is just everything. Everything's different. But at that time, you're so happy to move back that you're like excited to go through it. And I think that's the most amazing part of like being able to move to a different country is the excitement and the willingness to like confront any challenges that there is in that country, even a little bit more than the people you would find in that country, because you're so new to it. You're happy to accept that country and for it to accept you and embrace you, that you're willing to like just overlook some things and just like work through them and think it's nothing, whereas people living in that country think, oh, it's a roadblock, oh, I can't do this because of this. So I kind of want to switch that mentality of, oh, it's going to be hard, it's going to be difficult, to realizing that, oh my gosh, this is an experience, this is a challenge, and I'm gonna confront it, or I'm gonna surmount this. I don't know, I'm lacking the word for that, but I'm gonna get through it, and I'm gonna come out on the other side, and it's all gonna be great. I've never met someone who's first moved to a country and their first impression, even with everything being different and difficult, isn't that they're so excited that it doesn't seem as hard or as challenging for them as it would for someone who's lived in that place for so long. So that's something to keep in mind. Now, the positives and why it's still worth it living there. The strong sense of community is something that I think is not replaceable in any other culture or any other country, especially Western countries. I mean, Western countries they really try hard with like community activities, like community engagement in different communities. When you live in those kind of communities where like they try to have resources like parks and stuff like that, where communities could really hang out and try to be close to each other, especially religious establishments. But in West Africa, it's just part of the culture, it's part of the people, it's part of what they do, the sense of community. They are a community. I mean, unless I've also mentioned in my previous video, unless you don't want to be part of that community, which you can opt out of, but then again, you're really missing out on the experience here. But community is huge here, and it kind of replaces any hurdles or any struggles that you might go through, because the community's here. The community I love and I'm really a big fan of. And it's one of the biggest things that reasons why I've moved back as well. Now, that makes up for the challenges, um, and how you adapt and how you really get accustomed to that is based on like your previous experiences, of course. But I think with time, you would find your own community here and you would embrace it and you would love it. Now, for me, when I talked about these previous challenges, like the internet connection, like other challenges like electricity outages, I mean, it's not fun, but I've adapted. I mean, I have solar panels installed, I have Wi Fi connection like upstairs and downstairs, but I don't use it. I just use my solar data. It works fine for me. Like, you get used to, I use my cellular data because I can pay for higher speed of internet and have it everywhere I go, and just share hotspot my laptop, and it's fine. Especially since my kids right now, I don't want them on the internet every single day or all the time. It's just like, you know they don't need to have their devices plugged in or connected to the Wi-Fi, because I want them to experience the real world around them instead of being hooked to screens. So really, I think I have adopted in being able to say, okay, when it comes to Wi-Fi, I know I pay for this amount. It's working out for me great. I'm trying to find new tricks and ways to save, but still, I pay for this amount. My cellular data is just fine. Wi-Fi, really, I only use I use a different router for my camera system so I can have it online when I want to. Otherwise, I have like storage I could go back to and watch when I want to. Anyways, like different things you get accustomed to, like buying an electrical fan that you can charge, a rechargeable fan that you can charge and keep at home. And when you have outages for electricity and there's something wrong with your solar panels, like you should just have your fan on and stay cool. Like there are different things that are in place that I really enjoy. For instance, when I talk about the roads and stuff like that not being the same, you not being able to geolocate every location or search up every location on Google, on iMaps, and knowing that, iMaps doesn't work in West Africa as good as Google Maps. So I use Google Maps now. Or maybe like, I use Google Maps, and if Google Maps doesn't have my location, what do? I simply just, the first time I go to that location, you know, pick the share location to myself on WhatsApp, and I like slide it to reply to myself, and I put the location's name on there, and there you go. I have that location. Whenever I want to go there, I just go on WhatsApp and I go back to the location. Or if there's someone who's living at that location where I'm trying to go or get, I would simply ask them to send me their location. So all I'm saying is that there are different ways that you could get around all these struggles, and you can integrate it into your life where it seems so seamless that you don't even know that, oh my gosh, I did this. Like being able to say, okay, when I go to places where I want to be able to go back myself, I would just share the location on WhatsApp with myself. Like those are little things, or like buying an electrical fan, like, or being able to readjust my Wi-Fi system. Those are little things. Those are all things that I've made adjustment to, and I'm really proud of. Or maybe not having some internal nannies and having like different things set in place for my kids. So those are all really good. I just had a really huge cough. Anyways, those are really, really, really interesting things that I think either ways, those are really good things to keep in mind, and I think it would be really beneficial for anyone who's moving from abroad to West Africa, or who's new to living in West Africa, even if you're not from like coming from Western countries, or like you're still living in different African countries and wanting to move towards West Africa. Great countries to live in, just different things to keep in mind and prepare yourself for. I want to know what the different challenges are with living in the country that you are currently living in. I know every country has its little challenges. I've lived in the United States and now living in Africa, West Africa. I have different experiences that I love about each country, and each country has its challenges. So feel free to share what the challenges are from that country that you're currently living in the comments, so other people can benefit from it as well. And I think just knowing that different countries have different challenges is really interesting, especially since you live all your if you live all your life in one country, knowing that, oh, this is not just particular to my country. I know that like electrical outages is not just specific to West African countries. So like stuff like that, just knowing that, oh, we're not alone, and that this is what other people are doing to remedy that, would be really awesome to share in the comments as well. Anyway, see you in my next video. Thanks for watching.